The college football experience, Nebraska Cornhuskers 2024 season preview episode. The Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their brand new Pick 8. Sign up, and when you do sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football action as well and college basketball. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm.
This is Mike Leach, head football coach at Mississippi State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Football experience, Nebraska Cornhuskers 2024 season preview episode. Look, go Big Red. Look, this is one. Look, I know. Growing up, I truly hated this team for a little bit there. But that's because they were so dominant. But I'll tell you this, I still would say. Best team I've ever seen. I would, everyone talks about 2019 LSU, the Tebow team at Florida. I think that Tommy Frazier Nebraska team was the most dominant football team I've seen in my lifetime. So
that was 94.
Yeah.
The year that Penn State also went undefeated, but they gave the championship to Nebraska. And back then, I was kind of a Penn State fan, so I had no love lost for the Cornhuskers that year either. But if we're being honest, they probably would have beat Penn State.
Well, and then like there's the whole 99. Me and Patty C recently got in an argument about 99, where they put Virginia Tech, Florida State in there when Nebraska was 12-1 with their one loss being by like 4 points to Texas, and they beat them again in the Big 12 championship. And the Big East was like a mid-major, and they let Virginia Virginia Tech. We went through Virginia Tech's schedule that year, and they beat like two decent teams. Meanwhile, Nebraska has taken down top 15 Colorado, top 10 Kansas State, top 25 Oklahoma, top 25 Texas, top 25 Texas A&M. I think they would have beat Florida State that year.
It's crazy to think that Virginia Tech is now in the ACC, Nebraska's in the Big Ten, and Florida State is trying to exit the ACC. A lot has changed since then, but they got screwed that year.
Yeah, God forbid you're in a coma for 25 years, right? You wake up, you're gonna be like this.
Bring the head cold, but they're.
Shout out to the chat. They're rocking along, and is Garrett says, and shout out to Cody Zeeb of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, which you should be subscribed to. Cody's a big Cornhusker fan, as he should be, because he resides in Nebraska. And that's what they should do, is root for your Cornhuskers.
I think they kick you out of the state if you don't.
Yeah, that's true. Especially after Trev Alberts shut down the Omaha Mavericks football program and then bolted town out of Nebraska for Texas A&M. What the hell is that? But shout out to Garrett Winkler. Who goes, is college football better with Nebraska good? Yes,
for sure.
It just geographically too. We'll talk about that some. But before we do that, you're probably wondering just who the hell you're listening to, and that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Yes, I like to think the Big Ten never happened for Nebraska. I know a lot of fans are with me. We interviewed Larry the Cable Guy, big time Nebraska fan, a couple years back. He's like, I got free box seats. My kids don't even fucking go. He's like, I don't have any animosity for Northwestern or Rutgers. All right, what happened to Oklahoma, Colorado, and Kansas? I don't know.
Hey, on the flip side, at least they're part of the haves and not the have-nots.
True.
Being in a Power 2 league.
That is true.
So things could be worse, Nebraska fans.
Yeah. We are joined by my co-host, the DFS god himself. When college football season rolls around, we will be having DFS episodes nonstop. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, home brew making, tobacco road living, the free lock giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
Gotta give you that Tecmo Bowl music, right? Let's get in the mood. 4th of July just passed. Hope you guys got some freedom fries. All right. Yeah.
On that note, I would like to apologize to the 14-year-old kid at my neighborhood pool who I definitely spiked a volleyball off his head yesterday. Wrong place, wrong time, man.
Yeah, you don't apologize for that. You say, I told you, you go up against a grown man, we're going to treat you like a little, the little kid that you are. All right. Now get
it's just a game, fucker.
Did he get a bloody nose? Did he get a little bloody nose action?
No blood, okay. Unfortunately.
Next time, so when you're leaving the pool, this is what you tell him. Next time your nose is bleeding, bitch. All right. I like that. That's what you got to do. I mean, that's the problem. It's the problem. Tough. We're becoming too soft of a nation. You know what I mean? Point. You can't even tackle anybody in the NFL anymore. Look, before we get into breaking down everything about this team, I want to tell you that you are listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and you should check out the latest episode of SGP Stories that's out now on Patreon. Myself, Real Money Kramer, Shot Stacking the Money Green, do a Forensic Files deep style dive on the Bobby Petrino motorcycle accident that cost him his job at Arkansas about a decade ago. I may or may not have been wearing a neck brace and an Arkansas jacket and a Sugar Bowl hat, so check it out. Plus, make sure to check out the WNBA Gambling Podcast, as Terrell and Scott have started out with red hot locks over there. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. Back talking Nebraska Cornhusker football. I think, I ate shit on the Scott Frost thing. I thought that was going to really work out. I thought that was a home run. I thought his coaching tree, from he played with Bill. He played under Bill Walsh at Stanford, and then Tom Osborne at Nebraska. So I was like, two of the best coaches in football history. And then I was like, he was with Chip Kelly. He was with he's coached offense, defense, special teams. He was in the NFL. He just had a really good coaching resume. He played under Parcells. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just like, oh.
And the job he did at UCF.
Yeah, I was, and he's he's home where he was really good as a football player. I think that's one of the ones I got wrong most ever. Out of like I just thought that one was an absolute slam dunk when it came to coaching.
I think more often than not, when you project how well a new coach is going to do, usually you're right. I mean, obviously, we're not right 100% of the time. But I thought they were going to be better also. And going back to Garrett's point here, like, is college football better with a good Nebraska? Yes, but what is a good Nebraska? Can Nebraska ever get back to what they were in the 80s and 90s? That's the question. And I don't know. I mean, I think Matt Rhule might be the right guy for the job to get them back to 8-win club, a 9-win club potentially. But you're talking about, national championship contenders? I don't know.
I don't know either. And I think it's a very good question. And Matt Rhule is one. Let's talk about Matt Rhule. I would have liked to seen a bigger sample size at Baylor. I don't know about you, but like and youtube.com/the college experience, get on over there, hit that like and subscribe button. We got slides and everything. I would have liked to seen a bigger sample size at Baylor. He's 52 and 50 in 8 years of coaching in college. He's got 3 double-digit win seasons, 2 of those being at Temple. What he did at Temple is remarkable, but I also think in the AAC you can have. We see a ton, like we saw Scott Frost in the AAC go undefeated. You know what I mean? Like in the AAC, I think it's easier to be really good and then go to
I also think it's pretty damn hard to have back-to-back double-digit win seasons at Temple. I think you got to give. I mean, he did a hell of a job there, and also, I mean, yeah, he's only coached for 7 years in college. 3 of those years were double-digit win seasons. So the ability for him to come in and turn around a program rather quickly, he's proven it in 2 places, and he just might prove it for a 3rd time. So I think he's a very good college coach. Now on the NFL level, maybe not so much, but who cares about that? This is a college football podcast. So I think I think this was a good hire, and I think year 1 was solid. I mean, year 1 at Temple was 2-10. Year 1 at Baylor was 1-11. So if anything, year 1 at Nebraska going 5-7, not too shabby.
Well, Frost had them in a better spot. They lost every game by like 2 points. Sure. For the past like 5 years, really.
Right.
But hold on, like the Temple job is unbelievable. All right, he did an unbelievable job at Temple. There's no debating that. The thing is, the Baylor one is the one I'd like to circle, because Baylor has now proven 3 straight coaches that they've been able to win double-digit games. Aranda did that very quickly. Now he's sputtered off since. That's why I wondered if that was sustainable. I would have liked to seen him at Baylor a little longer, because when you go back and look, I think you go back and look, it was the big jump was in 2019. And I think you look around, they had like 5 first-year coaches in that conference back then. And the amount of 1-score games they won was pretty amazing. They had a 1-score win against Rice, 1-score win against Iowa State by 2 points there. Double overtime win against Texas Tech, with their first-year coach. And I believe Matt Campbell is in year 2 that year. But 3-point win against West Virginia, triple overtime win against Gary Patterson and TCU. Right. I mean, this goes like that's what I'm saying is I would have liked to seen a bigger sample size at Baylor, but yeah, I mean, he did get Baylor to the Big 12 championship where they lost to Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma, but they got there. So you got to say, I mean, but since Dave Aranda took them, so it's like, how much of that is Matt Rhule?
I guess that's a fair question. I mean, but if you look at his first year in Nebraska, they had 6 of their 7 losses were 1-score games. So on
that was happening under Frost too, though.
True. Yeah. For some reason, Nebraska could not win close games. But no, I mean, I guess it's fair to bring up that Baylor point. But I just think he has a proven track record in college football at his last 2 stops, and the way he's recruiting already at Nebraska is pretty good. Last year, he was 18th nationally, 6th best in the Big Ten. This year, 25th nationally, 5th in the Big Ten. Actually, flip those. That was last year, and then the year before was this year. But he's bringing talent in there, and if they just had any decent quarterback play last year, then I think they would have went bowling.
Well, yeah, their NIL collective, I think, is together. And I think that with them being the only show in town, I think that they really could get back into the mix maybe. But let me ask you that. You look back at that run at Baylor, he caught 5 first-year coaches, Bill Snyder on the very end of his career. He was a top coach there for that 2 or 3 year stint there in Waco. He was probably a top 3 or 4 coach because Cliff Kingsbury was still at Texas Tech. I think 2 of those 3 years, Matt Wells was in for 1 year there. And then you kind of look around and said, oh, there was like Gundy and Lincoln Riley. After that, it would probably be, because Snyder on the second one, Snyder was still good, but he was not the same.
He was about 80 years old. So
it was like when Joe Gibbs went back to the Redskins. So I'm not, and Gary Patterson even was on his final legs. So you kind of had both those coaches, legendary coaches, kind of sputtering. Is it easier in the Big Ten, or where does he align in the coaching ranks now? Because another thing is you have this expansion where you're bringing in, Oregon, USC, Washington, and UCLA. So where does, like, right now, if you had to power rank the coaches, is Matt Rhule a top 5 coach in the Big Ten?
I'd say probably.
Would you put Ryan Day in the top 5?
I would say probably. That's a tough question though. Like, Ryan Day's done a good job at Ohio State, but is that job, coach proof? Could anybody do a decent job? He hasn't been able to get Ohio State over the top yet. So, and that's why you could say Ryan Day is on the hot seat, even though they've been winning 10, 11 games a year. You have to beat Michigan if you're Ohio State. So I don't know. It's tough. I don't have like the list of all the coaches, but I got to think Matt Rhule's at least in the top half, if not the top 5.
Well, that's the good question though, is like, so you have 18 teams. If you're putting, now that Harbaugh is gone, he's not top 5, but maybe Sherrone Moore could be. Is James Franklin ahead of Matt Rhule?
I guess.
I mean, because you could argue that James Franklin, what he did at Vanderbilt, is more impressive than what Rhule did at Temple.
He's had decent years at Penn State, but he hasn't been able to get them over the top. Is Dan Lanning better than Matt Rhule, even though he has a very short history of being a head coach?
I'm kind of sold on Lanning.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm kind of sold on Rhule too. But I'll tell you this: I'll take Kirk Ferentz over him.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting that.
Now I agree with you there.
With Lincoln Riley.
I'm not going to say that.
I think he's undefeated against Rhule, but then again, he was at Oklahoma.
I'm sure his all-time head coaching winning percentage is a lot better, but he's been in better situations.
True.
So I'm not going to say Lincoln Riley's better than Matt Rhule. I think time will tell. Give it a few years.
It's a good exercise here.
It's interesting.
Yeah, because we didn't even talk Bielema and Fickell and some of the other coaches.
I would go Rhule over Bielema and Fickell,
I think I would too. Maybe, but Fickell did get Cincinnati to the playoffs. What about I think Jonathan Smith, though, I would take over Rhule.
I think he's too unproven yet. He's only been able to do it in one place. Matt Rhule did it in 2 places.
I don't know. He was part of a staff at Boise that I'm just pretty sold on. But folks, look, we're going to dive into the offense, the defense, special teams, all that good stuff. Get game by game on the schedule. But before we do that, I want to tell you that the college football experience, Nebraska Cornhuskers 2024 season previews, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8's now live. Create entries up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. And the best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries. Don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Like I mentioned, yes, they have college football, college basketball. I love utilizing I feel like you could really find sharp edges. I know it's the dog days of summer, but I'm still playing MLB. I'm still playing CFL, UFC. Let's go. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Of course, Circa contests have no rake. Circa Millions, pick 5 NFL teams ATS each week and compete for $6 million, or survive the NFL Gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize there. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. Check that out. If you don't have a trip booked yet for Las Vegas before the football season, may I recommend Ultimate Contest Weekend. It's a great time to go out, and if you do, you can hang out with my pals, Stacking the Money Green and Ride Real Money Kramer, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world there, August 22nd through August 24th. Check it out, and remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, we are back, and shout out to the chat. I see Jackson there. Agree as a Husker fan. Just don't see how Rhule's pass comes with the Nebraska gig. Big Ten different than Temple and Baylor. Yeah, I mean that's the question. I think it's a worthy question to say. Like I kind of thought, and the Temple one, okay, I can't really question that one. The Baylor one, Art Briles took them. They didn't have a championship game, but they would have played in the championship game. Then Rhule took them, and then Aranda took them. So I'm like, and it was such a short sample size at Baylor that and then I also thought he caught them in like this shift of like the older coaches on the way down, 5 new head coaches coming in, and he won a bunch of close games. So like credit to him, he got there. They actually, I thought, could have won that game against Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship too. But at the same time, like I still wonder what he would have done in year 4 and 5 there, because he was smart. You know, he got a shit ton of money by the NFL. You know what I mean?
Strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, Nebraska is different than Baylor and Temple, but Baylor was different than Temple. You know, I'm not saying his experience means it's a guarantee he's going to bring Nebraska back, but when you're hiring a coach, don't you like to see success at multiple stops before he gets to your program?
True. But you do wonder if maybe, I mean, we'll see. You wonder if the game's changed a little bit for him.
It certainly has.
Yeah. Because he doesn't use the portal that much. But we'll see. We're going to talk about that in a second. But
I was going to say, to be fair, I think Nebraska won the portal this season.
Yeah.
Not that they attacked it very aggressively.
Yeah, that's my point.
They didn't lose a whole lot, and they brought in some pieces which are going to be, you know, impact players right away.
I thought they won it last year when they got Jeff Sims. He was a highly talented high school recruit, man.
That experiment did not work. Look, I watched Jeff Sims at Georgia Tech, and I saw glimpses.
They flipped him from Florida State. You wonder what would have happened had he gone to Florida State with Norvell.
He had a couple really good games for the Yellow Jackets, and but no, that did not work. He was awful last year. 1 touchdown to 6 interceptions, a bunch of fumbles, just way too turnover prone. I think everybody's glad he's gone in the state of Nebraska.
Yeah, and I know and Jackson Reddick brings up, and this is my next transition here. And the Bo Pelini era. So when Nebraska, believe it or not, Nebraska hasn't won a championship since joining the Big Ten in 2011. Their best years were right away under Bo Pelini, where I feel like they won like 9, 10, 9. I think this first 3 years were like a 9-win season, a 10-win season, a 9-win season. And he got fired for cursing. He apparently was an asshole. But hey, look, I thought assholes, like, you know, if
you want a nice guy head coach,
yeah, that's what I'm
or
saying.
you want a winner?
Yeah, what's going on here? But that's my bigger question: is life in the Big Ten? Because even these stats are a little jaded from those first 3 or 4 years with Pelini, where they kind of dominated a lot of the Big Ten, minus strangely Minnesota has been fucking them up all. How about this? Since joining the Big Ten, they're 1-7 against Ohio State, 2-6 against Michigan, and those 2 wins were during the Pelini era. 1-11 against Wisconsin. That is, I would have not seen that one. If you had told me when they were joining, I would say no. They'll be able
you would think a little bit closer to even, right?
I actually think would give them the lead too. I would have been like, probably like 7 out of the 12 matchups Nebraska will win.
You can almost understand the Ohio State and Michigan bad records, but 1-11 versus Wisconsin. That is, I mean, look, Wisconsin now might not be as good as they were 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, but still, that is inexcusable.
Yeah, 4-1 against Penn State, but once again, I think Franklin is 1-1 against them. They caught Penn State, you know, after that whole incident. They got some wins there. Iowa, Pelini had a decent record against Iowa, but since then, it's been tough, man. Since then, I think they're 1-9 against Iowa. Minnesota's got their number 2. They're 5-8 against Minnesota. They're 6-5 against Purdue. 2-1 against Indiana. 7-5 against Northwestern. 7-4 against Illinois. They are 5-0 against Rutgers and 2-1 against Maryland. So 7-1 against those other additions they came in with. 4-3 against Michigan State, and also since they've left the Big 12, they're 0-3 against Colorado and 0-2 against
had
Oklahoma.
To put that in there, huh?
you know, I had, because those are rivals. Those are still their rivals as much as they want to run from it. You know what I mean? Those are still rivals to them. So I hate them in the Big Ten, to tell you the truth, dude.
Well, I mean, all these records indicate why they've been basically like a 4-8, 5-7 type team over the last 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, it's just, I went to a Northwestern Nebraska game. Nebraska fucked them up, actually. One of the Frost era, but I don't get excited for like Nebraska and Indiana and Nebraska Purdue and Nebraska Northwestern and Nebraska Illinois. It's like, I don't know, man. It just, I feel like they feel like a man without a country. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I know geographically it fits, but it just doesn't feel like it to me. Maybe this is my get Clint Eastwood get off my lawn.
I guess more importantly is, our Nebraska fans excited now that the fact they have, 2 good recruiting classes, they just got the 5-star quarterback coming in. And maybe, some of the folks in the chat can answer that question. Are Nebraska fans excited about the future now? Because they haven't been that excited the last few years because they haven't had a good team in almost a decade.
Yeah. Jackson saying that's the last time that Northwestern win was the last time Memorial was actually lit. That is something that we should talk about because there is rumors of the fake sellout streak. Have you heard about this? That they still claim this sellout streak, but I don't know. I just don't get that excited for it. But look, maybe winning cures all, right? Winning cures all. Yeah,
for sure.
Now, during that stretch, they actually haven't had as many embarrassing losses as like some of the other programs we've covered. Southern Miss, BYU won on a Hail Mary there. Northern Illinois got them. Troy got them, and Georgia Southern got them. Watch out when you schedule those Sun Belt teams. All right.
Well, especially Northern Illinois and Georgia Southern were within the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken.
And they almost got had at, what was it? Was it South Bama? Someone almost got them. It was like an FCS. I remember this crazy run by Amir Abdullah, but that's not as bad when you compare that. Like even Alabama, I think might have like right around the same amount since 2000. So it's somewhat impressive that they've handled their own against the mid majors. Let's talk about this offense. But before we do that, I want to tell you folks out there that the College Football Experience Nebraska Cornhuskers season preview is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm's combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions there. So claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right, back talking Cornhusker football and the offense. Whew. Very
Not
Big Ten West. Very Big Ten West. You've adjusted to the Big Ten better than I realized. 120th in scoring per game, 18 points per game, 12th in the Big Ten. Still better than Iowa. Iowa gives you the blueprint how to do this and still win 10 games. All right. They were 12th in the Big Ten, 115th in yards. That was 9th best in the Big Ten. 126th in passing, 13th. The second worst team in the Big Ten a season ago when it came to passing, but second best team when it came to running. They were 38th nationally, 176.8 yards per game. Any of those surprise you?
Well, the passing is awful, but we shouldn't be surprised because we mentioned Jeff Sims was not the answer. Neither was Chuba Purdy. And even, when Heinrich Haarberg came in there, he was more of a runner. He actually led Nebraska in rushing last year. So overall, the passing game was atrocious. So I think they had to run the ball and, there was a lot of volume there, a lot of carries, but they were successful in running the ball. This year, I think you're hoping for a little bit more of a balanced approach, and maybe the overall offensive numbers can be improved upon if they are more balanced.
Yeah. Shout out to Jackson in the chat saying he just wants a bowl game. They have the longest streak right now. Did you know that? Out of all the Power 5 teams, they have the longest streak without a bowl. If you would have told me that 20 years ago,
pretty crazy.
I would have just said no way. No way.
I think Jackson is in luck. I have Nebraska going bowling this year.
I have them bowling too.
Close a year ago. I think they will go bowling this year.
It's a great schedule.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. But look, Heinrich Haarberg is back. All right. He's just not starting because they brought in the number 7 recruit in the nation. They flipped him from Georgia, Dylan Raiola, and Ohio State, I believe. I think he was committed at Ohio State at one point too. He has family ties to Nebraska. So nothing like dialing up. That's been Matt Rhule's best plays dialed up so far. It's like, wait, we got family connection to Raiola. Let's fix this. All right. Gabe Ervin is back at the running back spot.
We need to mention too that I think he got out for the year in week 3. He's probably their best running back last year. So to put up those kind of running stats without your top guy was pretty impressive. And I know they're going to welcome him back a healthy Gabe Ervin.
And they got Emmett Johnson still too. So he looked all right too last year. Tight end Thomas Fedone is back, and then they bring back 3 of 5 on the offensive line. And then let's talk about the elephant in the room here. Freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola. You've seen the chat. I was doing other college football shows, and people coming in saying, "Hey, this is, the next greatest quarterback." We saw shout out to Courtney Joe, who mentioned in the chat that he's and I watched that spring game too, and he looked really good in the spring game. I don't know how much to deduce from a spring game, but Courtney's in there saying we got a Patrick Mahomes 2.0 here.
Man.
Here's
high expectations.
Here's the thing. I did a deep dive on this one, and obviously he's gonna be a stud. I think he's gonna be in the NFL, but how much can he matter this year? Because if you look back, I went through the top 25 quarterback recruits, any quarterbacks that made the top 25 recruits from 2017 on. And 2017 was Davis Mills and Tua. 2018 was Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and JT Daniels. 2019 was Spencer Rattler. 2020 was Bryce Young and DJ Uyangale. 2021 was Quinn Ewers, then Caleb Williams, then Sam Hjord, and Drake May, all in the top 25. 2022 was Cade Klubnik and Connor Wegman. And last season was Arch Manning, Nico Amalewa for Tennessee, Dante Moore, Jackson Arnold, and Malachi Nelson, all making the top 25. The thing that stands out to me when I do this is majority of them don't play their freshman year.
It sounds like Caleb Williams probably had the best freshman season, but he didn't even start for half that.
Yeah. So like Spencer Rattler was redshirted his freshman year. Trevor Lawrence did play as a freshman, I believe. He came in, I thought, like second game.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And obviously I think Tua came in and won the national championship. But still none of those started the whole season. It's right. It's worth asking that question is should they be concerned about even though he's a phenom? Like
it can't get much worse than the quarterback play a year ago.
That's true. That is true.
The passing game can't get much worse than last year. So I think it's regardless of what he does, that's an improvement over a season ago. Now I do think, if he can be really good right away, then Nebraska has a chance to have a pretty special season.
If he's really good right away, they could make the playoff.
Ooh, man, I wasn't going to go that far, but
the schedule's
there.
This is the year to get him, man.
And the good thing is, look, his first 4 games are all at home. 5 of the first 6 games are all at home. So he doesn't really have a tough road trip till like late October. So, usually you're concerned about a freshman, who has a difficult road trip early in the season. At least he gets 4 or 5 games at home to settle his nerves, get into the mix. But this is the biggest question about the Nebraska offense. Is he going to be a top quarterback in the Big Ten, or is he going to be solid or decent in his freshman season?
Yeah.
And that'll make the difference between a 6 or 7 win team and a potential 10-win team.
Yeah. And they went out in the portal, and well, first off, they lost Jeff Sims to Arizona State, Chuba Purdy to Nevada, and Jake Applegate to the Huskies of Northern Illinois, not the Salukis. They did bring in Dante Dowdell from the Oregon Ducks at the running back spot. Isaiah Neyor, who, had he not gotten injured, he was really good at Wyoming like 3 years ago. But at Texas, things just didn't work out. He tore his ACL, I think, in practice, missed the whole season his first year there, and then last season wasn't as big as a factor as I think folks were hoping for. Jahmal Banks from Wake Forest. He was good at Wake Forest. He was very good. I think he had some pretty good stats. I think he had over 107 catches, right?
Yeah, back-to-back 600+ seasons. He's 6'4", 205, so he's going to be a nice red zone target, big body guy. They've definitely improved at the receiver position. We've mentioned that the quarterback position improved this year. I think a running back with Ervin coming back, and also that guy Dowdell from Oregon coming over, I think they're improved at running back.
And Ja'Cory Barney was a guy that flashed in that spring game at the wide receiver spot too. We should mention that, a freshman.
Right. And look at the O-line, 3 starters returning, but also 8 of the top 10 O-linemen from last year are back. And then that guy from Florida, Maskua,
yeah.
I think he's penciled in as a starter day one. So I think the O-line is there too. So the biggest question mark, it goes back to quarterback.
Yeah, and then the defensive side of the ball. Now let me like, I love their hire of Tony White. I thought he was a very good defensive coordinator at Syracuse, but I got to play devil's advocate here. The Big Ten West has so many horrible offenses.
Yes.
Is defense really that good, or is it just them playing? Let's look at the shitty offenses from a year ago. Minnesota, Northern Illinois, Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Iowa. All were pretty shitty offenses a year ago. So, like, how much of that is them being an elite defense, and how much is that being just they played awful quarterbacks?
That is very fair. I mean, you could argue that the only good offenses they played were Colorado and Michigan, and that's why Colorado put up 36 and Michigan put up 45 on them. So, if anything, those stats, maybe they should have been a little bit better if they were that good of a defense.
Well, I don't know. Like, when you see 5th in Big Ten, you say that's good, but all the other Big Ten teams are playing this shitty. It's like, how many good offenses are truly in the Big Ten? Like, I guess now that you add these 4 that.
Well, especially the Big Ten West. Like, you could, I mean, obviously, like last year, Ohio State had a good offense. You could argue Penn State, pretty good offense, and Michigan, they only got one of those 3. So that's, yeah, I mean, they played a lot of bad offenses. They played in the Big Ten West.
Yeah. 13th nationally were they a year ago in scoring per game, 18.3 points per game. 11th in yards, 303.5 yards per game. 40th in passing, 210.6 yards per game, and 8th in rushing. All with the exception of the pass defense, charting in the top 5 in the Big Ten. Pass defense was 9th in the Big Ten. They bring back a shit ton, though. You should be very excited. They bring back 8 starters on the defensive side of the ball, 3 on the defensive line, and you know Tony White does a lot of that 3-3-5 stuff. Jamari Butler, Nash Hutmacher,
the polar bear. Watch out for him. He's probably the leader of that D line.
Look, next time I'm in Lincoln, I'm going to have to do some polar bear shots just on that. Ty Robinson also on the at the defensive tackle spot, and then the linebackers, Jalvin Wright and John Bullock, and then the rover spot and this 3-3-5. You know, the Brian Urlacher spot from when Rocky Loan created this defense. Isaac Gifford, no relation to Frank, but
or Kathy.
Yeah. But word is he's plowed a few that look like Kathy back in the day on the campus of Lincoln. I don't know, speculation. Just I got a few DMs about that. You know, Isaac Gifford is running through it in Lincoln. But Malcolm Hartzog and Tommy Hill are back at the corner spots. They are breaking in new safeties. Kicker and punter back. You gotta like that. They played in so many close games. I would like to think returning kicker and punter, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they were inexperienced before. Is this defense gonna be pretty loaded again? Yeah, another thing is you look at the offenses. Now, I do think there's a little more. The offenses are a tiny bit better this year.
The offenses on their schedule.
Yeah,
agree.
Yeah.
They still play a lot of bad offenses, but there's a couple more decent ones. But I think this Nebraska defense should at least be as good as last year, if not better, especially with some of the additions in the portal. And the guys they lost were mostly reserves. So, I think you have high hopes for this defense if you're a Huskers fan.
Yeah, and back to your credit on the portal of saying they won the portal. They did lose a couple guys though. Chief Borders going out the pit. Great name. All right. I'm familiar with him actually. And then Taman Lynham also going to pit at the corner spot. Raquan Buckley heading to Michigan State. And then the rest kind of Javier Morton to Temple and Randolph Kapai to Bronco Mendenhall and New Mexico. But they brought in a few guys that Stephon Thompson is familiar with Tony White. Tony White's, 2 years removed from Syracuse. Stephon Thompson was at Syracuse. And then they brought in a few FCS guys as well as a corner from USC. I still think they won the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I don't think they lost any really impact players. I think those people on defense were mostly reserves that, maybe spotted the starters. And a couple of these guys might step in right away, get major minutes.
Yeah. Well, and that's something we should talk about too. The Big Ten West is no more. I think Nebraska is not screwed this year, but it does make it harder moving forward. But
well, yeah, it all depends on schedule. Now, this year they were a schedule winner. Like we just a couple days ago, we did Michigan State. They were a schedule loser.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't have the guaranteed easy path or easier path that they used to have, which they never really took advantage of. Now it's all luck of the draw as to what kind of schedule you're going to get in conference.
Yeah. Let's talk about this win total here. 7.5 is the win total. It's -110 each way. So there's no real juice on this. Vegas doesn't know if there'll be a 7-5 team or 8-4 team. Plus 5,500 to win the Big Ten championship. And look, if you're a Nebraska fan, plus 950 to make the playoffs. If you go 9-3 in the Big Ten, there's a decent shot you could make the playoffs. If Vegas thinks you could be 8-4, what's one more win? Just sprinkle it. If you're a Nebraska fan, what's one more win? Sprinkle it.
I think you almost have to, right?
Yeah. Plus 20,000 there to win the national championship. Maybe don't bet that one, but you take the 12-team playoff one. All right.
I wouldn't touch the Big Ten champ because even if something crazy happens and they get to the championship game, I think Ohio State and Oregon are just head and shoulders better than anybody else. And then Michigan not far behind or Penn State not far behind. So yeah, I think if anything there, even though I might lean towards the under on the surface. The 12-team playoff, I mean, just a little sprinkle. Why not?
Yeah. I'll tell you this though, man, this is a trendy ass over. I have been a part of a few different podcasts as a guest, and every one that I've been on, I feel like is, Nebraska's a slam dunk over this year. We'll see.
So they're going to automatically win 3 more games just because the quarterback play is probably going to be improved.
I don't know. We'll see. Because it's a freshman still. Like even if he's a stud, you got to factor in he's going to make some mistakes in some games. Now, obviously, they were at -17 turnover margin last year because Jeff Sims was just, oh god, I never seen Jeff Sims play so bad. I thought at Georgia Tech the guy had some talent.
Yeah,
I mean. Once again, I look like a fool. I was like, "Oh, Jeff Sims is a nice get in the portal." After like week 4, I was like, not a nice get in the portal."
But it's also fair that while the 5-star freshman might make some big plays, a lot of times they're not the most careful with the ball either. So, but you would think that turnover margin will be better this year.
Now, I was a skeptic of their hire of Marcus Satterfield at OC. He came over from Spencer Rattler in South Carolina, where I thought, wasn't the biggest fan of that hire, but something to pay attention to. Last year, I don't know what he didn't have much to work with, but this year I am intrigued about that. Let's take a look at the schedule. So you blindly lean over or under though?
Yeah, on the surface, I think it's hard to say they're going to win 3 more games this year. So especially with the freshman quarterback, so I think I'd have to lean under. Yeah,
I think I would too. Let's jump to the schedule because it is rather nice. Home to, and look, if you're wondering what the number is on the right, youtube.com/the college experience. I power ranked what I thought were the toughest games. Yeah, it's all subjective, but the UTEP Miners, Scotty Walden, they're basically playing Austin Peay here. Just so you know, because Scotty Walden comes over from Austin Peay. He's bringing like 40, I don't know if it was 40, but it's a shit ton of players from Austin Peay over to UTEP. So in that regard, you're kind of getting 2 FCSs and you're getting him in the first game, which I think is a credit to the schedule. So
the line I saw today was Nebraska -28.
I'll take the points.
Obviously, we're going to take Nebraska to win, but I might take the points.
Well, look, I like when you get the young coaches bringing their whole teams. Yeah. Because it's different than just hitting the portal and learning a new offense and defense. If you're bringing 25 guys or whatever, they kind of know what you want. You know what I mean? I get it.
To compare it to the G5 teams they played a year ago, Nebraska beat Northern Illinois 35-11 and La Tech 28-14.
La Tech was horrible though.
Yeah. Both of those would have covered 28 if that matters.
Fair. But hold on, it didn't. Yeah, did Austin Peay? Am I crazy or did they play Tennessee last year? Trying to find out quickly on the fly here. I
don't recall that, but
I thought they were giving Tennessee a hard time. Maybe I'm full of it though. No, they did. It was 30-13 against Tennessee, and that game was closer than that score indicates.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's like Austin Peay is what you're playing here. Give me the points.
But as far as their over under, it's a win for Nebraska.
Yeah. Cannabis Capper saying smash that UTEP plus 28. Yeah, and then the Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Prime come in there. I saw Joel Klatt had Matt Rhule on a show, and he was praising. I don't like them when they're praising each other. All right, I like it when Osborne's talking shit. I like it when Bill McCartney said, "I'd rather be dead than in red."
Well, wasn't Rhule talking shit last year to Colorado?
He was actually a little bit.
Yeah,
man. He got, but
and they lost 36-14. Maybe he shouldn't have been.
And Colorado didn't play good that game. Like Colorado actually, yeah.
I think Jackson said it earlier. I mean, what's his name? Sims was responsible for 3 turnovers, and his poor play was a major reason why it wasn't competitive.
You know, Eileen Buffs in this one. I'm surprised that look ahead number is, I think, Nebraska minus. I think I saw this. Was it like 8? I think
it's hard to lay more than a touchdown here. I kind of want to give this one to Nebraska, though.
Here's why I like it. The secondary of Colorado, I think, is really, really good.
Yeah.
And against that freshman quarterback, I think that could be a very dangerous spot for them. I also think Colorado is so much better on the line of scrimmage this year.
Well, I was going to say they're going to test that new D line because Nebraska's going to want to run it a lot to keep Colorado's offense, on the sideline. So, it's a tough game, could go either way. But at home in Lincoln, I'll
trust the experienced quarterback.
Okay.
1-1. Then they're home to Northern Iowa. They're not a horrible FCS. 2-1 though.
Yeah. For me, 3-0.
Now Brett Bielema, he's no longer in Cabo with that picture, margarita pictures or whatever the fuck in that photo. And this is a scary game to me though. I'll tell you, I'll put it like this: between Illinois, Purdue, and Rutgers, they're going to lose 1 to me.
For Illinois, I mean, I like the fact that this is Friday night, 8 p.m. That place is going to be rocking.
Yeah.
Similar to what you were just saying there. For me, there's 3 tough home games in the first half of the season: Colorado, Illinois, Rutgers. I'm going to have Nebraska dropping one of those. I guess I'm going to say it's the Rutgers one. Maybe it's the Colorado one, but they're going to lose one of those home games.
Yeah, I got 2. I got Colorado or either Illinois or Rutgers. Maybe it's the Purdue one. I don't know, but I have them 2 losses at their first bye week.
I just have 1. I'm gonna have them winning at Purdue. We also have a kick time for that 12 noon, which I think is a good thing for Nebraska. Moving along your schedule there, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. I think they drop either at Purdue or at Indiana. I said I'm going to give them the Purdue one. I'm going to say Indiana maybe surprises them.
Purdue is good for one upset every year. Last year Purdue I think lost by like 16 or 17 at Nebraska, but it's different in West Lafayette.
Yeah,
their crowd shows up.
So I have them at 5-2. With the first 7 games, that's the easy part of their schedule. Now things really crank up, so you better get your wins before that trip to Ohio State. You have them at what?
I have them losing to Indiana.
You have them at 4-3.
4-3,
okay.
Yeah, and then I got them losing at Ohio State.
Yes, they're not ready to go into the horseshoe and win that. So I'm 5-3 there. You're 4-4.
I do have them beating UCLA in Lincoln.
The other thing too is it's kind of an interesting schedule. They play 3 teams in a row that are coming off their bye. So Indiana, Ohio State, and UCLA all have a bye before they play Nebraska. Kind of crazy there, but I think they bounce back from the Ohio State loss and take down the Bruins at home as well.
So you have them there at what? So second bye week, I got them at 4-4.
I have them at 5 and hold on.
No, I have them at 4-5 then.
6. Wait. I have them at 6-3.
No, I have them at 5-4. 5-4.
Yes, I have them at 6-3.
Then they get a bye week and they're at Lincoln Riley and USC. Here's what's tricky about this one. If Lincoln Riley and them sputter, he could be fired. They have a new athletic director. He could be fired by then.
Yeah, USC is very interesting this year. Are they going to
Yeah.
be more like they were last year or more like they were in 2022? I'm not sure, but I do know it's a tough road trip, and I got to favor the home team, so I'm going to go Trojans.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Trojans too, and that puts them at 5-5. But this
So
is the one.
you're already on the under. I still have a
Yeah.
chance at it at 6-4 with Wisconsin on deck.
And I have them beating Wisconsin. So I got them at making a bowl. You're 6-5 now.
I have them beating Wisconsin at home as well, and they are now 7-4 for me.
There we go. And then they are heading to Iowa City, and I just did the Iowa preview. I'm kind of really sold on Iowa this year with them bringing back. What did I read? 8 super seniors, and I think 7 of them are on defense. Fucking insane.
Yeah, I don't think they go into Iowa City to
Yeah.
get that. So I have Nebraska at 7-5, year 2 under Matt Rhule. They do go bowling. They snap that streak. And considering they had a freshman quarterback start most of this year or all this year, hopefully if he doesn't get hurt or anything, I'd say it's a decent year too. I mean, maybe Nebraska fans are hoping for 8 or 9 wins. Who knows? But I think if you go 7-5, as long as you're showing improvement, I think you should be okay with that. But I'm on the under.
Yeah, I'm on the under too. 6-6, make a bowl, and I think that is momentum moving forward for Raiola's second year. I will say that though, there's a couple things to talk about here. A would be, will Raiola finish his career at Nebraska? Because when I went through that, all those top 25 recruits, especially the ones recently, like if you look, say last season, Malachi Nelson, he's already transferred. He's at a second school. Dante Moore is already at a second school, right? You look back, Sam Hjort is on his third school. Caleb Williams went to 2. Quinn Ewers went to 2. DJU went to 3. Spencer Rattler went to 2. JT Daniels went to 27, right? Justin Fields went to 2. So Jacob Eason went to 2. Shea Patterson went to 2. You look at all of those, that's going back. There's only like 3. You have like Klubnik right now. Trevor Lawrence, Tua would be the only ones, and Bryce Young, the only 4 that haven't hit the portal. Maybe Connor Wegman, but we'll see. He still could.
That is pretty crazy. I guess if you're a Nebraska fan, you're happy that a lot of players didn't transfer out this offseason. So keep them paid, keep them happy, and I think as long as they feel that the program is going in the right direction, then I think they stay.
Yeah, and I'll say this too, as far as the playoff thing, even though I have them 6-6, right? My losses are at Iowa, which is, even though I'm high on Iowa, that's going to be a 3-point game. So like 1 block punt, 1, unbelievable kick return or something, that you could win that game. That's why Iowa, lives and dies by the sword so much, is like, I feel like the Minnesota game, 1 bad call, you could lose a game. I have them losing to Indiana. That's a very winnable game.
Sure.
I have them losing to either Illinois, Purdue, or Rutgers. I think all are winnable. I have them losing to Colorado. I think that's winnable. So, like, if you wanted to sit there and build you a path for them to the playoffs, which is why I think if you're a Nebraska fan, you might as well sprinkle. There's a shot Lincoln Riley's not even there when they play USC. And that could, really, the only games where they're like flat out dogs to me are Ohio State, USC, and Iowa. Right?
I was about to make that point. That right now, that's probably the only games where they're dogs. So just win one of them, and you're in decent shape. But this Nebraska team has played so many close games over the last couple of years, including last year, and too often or not, they've lost those close games. So it's kind of hard just to chalk up all these. Yeah, I don't know if they're coin flip or 50-50 games, but they're kind of close. So they're kind of hard to chalk those all up as Nebraska wins with their freshman quarterback. That's my spot.
Fair. So, but I'm saying your ceiling is 9-3 to me. 9-3 to me is your ceiling, which means you could potentially get to the playoffs.
Man, if Dylan Raiola comes in and plays
10-2,
balls out,
10-2,
I see the ceiling's 10-2.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'd meet you there a little bit. Yeah. Let's talk about the floor though. Let's talk about the floor here. If they lose to Colorado, if they lose to say Illinois and Purdue, because I will say this, Illinois has got a good defense. So Raiola will learn about in that game a little bit. Let's say they lose to Colorado, Illinois, Purdue by that bye week. That's 3 losses. You already got them losing to Indiana and Ohio State. That'd be 5. USC 6, Wisconsin 7, Iowa 8. Is the floor 4-8?
I suppose so. I mean, I have a hard time believing this team will be worse than last year record wise, and they were 5-7. But I think the schedule is a little bit tougher than a season ago. So I guess you could convince me that 4-8 is the floor, but I think more realistically, it's a 5-7 season, just like last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think 6-6. They're going to get to a bowl this year. I think
so.
I'm on the under though, and I do think they're one of the most interesting teams to watch this year.
I agree,
because if Raiola's a stud, it'll be interesting to see moving forward if they can just ignite that fan base again. I mean, I know they have good fans. It's not like they've truly gone away. I know some people exaggerate that, but I think just building excitement would be so huge for the fucking state. And then, I think the NIL could be a big factor then too. So, I'm on the under, but I wouldn't be shocked if the over hit.
Certainly, I'm not going to touch this. I don't think it certainly won't be on my locks. I could definitely see Nebraska getting to 8 wins with that kind of schedule, but I agree with you. My play would be the under.
All right, folks, look, that's our show. Make sure you check out, we're breaking down all 134 college football teams, an hour dedicated to every single team in the land. Get out there, check it out. YouTube.com/the college experience, iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff. If you can go over to iTunes, give us a 5-star review. We'd certainly appreciate it. But yeah, we're in the thick of this with the Big Ten. We got, I got Maryland scheduled for today at some point, follow in Minnesota as well. And then we're jumping into, after that, we're going to talk Northwestern Wildcat football. All right. So go check out all the other ones alphabetically that are out there. Also, the entire Mountain West is out there. I'll be at Mountain West Media Day next week. And the SEC, we started with the SEC. So if you're an SEC fan, go check them out. All 16 teams in the SEC. We'll see. I'm excited about this 18 team. Well, I'm not excited, but I am excited, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think UCLA and USC should be in the conference. I think it's horrible for college football, but I'm excited to see how Nebraska does in this conference. I'm excited to see the race. And I think this year with the 12-team playoff, it's going to be the most exciting college football season in my lifetime. So,
agreed. Let's do it. How many weeks we got here? I mean, we're
right around
there,
the corner.
man.
After 4th of July, you can see the end zone. Once I start interviewing coaches like I did last year, which is next week, that's to me like when you start to.
Then we got like 7 weeks, man.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Give NC Nick a follow on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Check out our other stuff. I host the Stadium Heads podcast with Michael Barker, where we talk about the college football stadiums that are why college football is the greatest. We talk great. Go listen, Nebraska fans. We talk great about Memorial Stadium. Check out the Stadium Heads podcast. Check out the FCS College Football Experience for more on Northern Iowa. All right. And bring back that Omaha Mavericks program, you filthy bastards. All right. If you're listening to this in Nebraska, bring that and bring Creighton back. I do follow a Twitter page. Bring back Creighton football. All right. I think I sent it to you and you didn't respond. But hater, you fucking hater.
Sounds accurate.
Yeah, check out all that stuff. We also host a slew of other podcasts, sports gambling podcast. Check them out. Check out, it's a Dog Days of Summer MLB gambling podcast, the NASCAR gambling podcast. Cody Zeeb does fantastic work. Hell of a good guy. Him and Rod Villagomez always doing good work there. Great show. Great listen too. So check out that as well. CFL gambling podcast. If you're into CFL this summer, you're right. You're not that far from Canada. All right. So check it out. All right, folks, till next time. This is the College Football Experience. Go Big Red style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot.